Namaste to all. In the previous video, we have seen the hydrogen molecule forming by the covalent bonding. Let's see some more examples of the molecules forming by the covalent bonding. Chlorine. Chlorine is a molecule which is formed by the covalent bonding. Chlorine, its atomic number is 17, as you all know, and its electronic distribution in the cell, that is electronic configuration, is 2 electrons in the first shell, 8 electrons in the second shell, and 7 electrons in the outermost shell. As I have told you earlier also, the electrons present in the outermost shell is known as valence electron. So chlorine have 7 valence electrons in outermost shell and its valency is 1. Why its valency is 1? Because it requires 1 electron, only 1 electron to complete its shell. That's why its valency is 1. You remember that point? In previous video we have discussed that for forming the covalent bond, atoms share their valence electron according to their requirements. Chlorine has 7 valence electrons. It does not share all its 7 electrons for forming the covalent bond. Its requirement is only of 1 electron. That's why it only shares its 1 electron to complete its outermost shell. Let's see how the chlorine do it. First, the electron dot structure. As you all know, what is the electron dot structure? When the valence electron around the atom are represented as cross or dots, that structure is known as electron dot structure. Chlorine has 7 valence electrons. That's why we have shown 7 electrons in this shell, that is the 7 valence electron. It requires how many electrons to complete its shell? It requires only 1 electron to complete its shell. That's why it shares only its 1 electron. Let's see how it does. It forms a covalent bonding like this. If you will see the circle of this chlorine, in this circle, after the sharing of 1 electron with the other chlorine atom, comes 8 electron. Now this 8 electron in the outermost shell is after sharing the electrons. Now these 8 electrons are present in the outermost shell of this chlorine, so it attains the noble gas configuration. Similarly, for this chlorine, it also has shared its 1 electron with the other atom of chlorine, so its outermost shell also have 8 electrons and its outermost shell is filled with the electrons. Okay, now one more important thing, the common circle. This common circle between both the atoms contains how many electrons? All of you see, contains only 2 electrons. So what is the number of electrons shared between both of them? They have shared 2 electrons between both of them, and these 2 electrons are the shared pair of electrons. Now when 2 electrons are shared between the atoms, they forms a single bond. I again repeat, when 2 electrons are shared between the atoms, it forms a single bond, and this bond is represented by a single line between the atoms, as you can see. Let's see one more example. Oxygen molecule is one more example that is forming by the covalent bonding. Oxygen atom, oxygen molecule formed by the oxygen atom. What is the electronic configuration? Its atomic number is 8. Its atomic number is 8. So what is its electronic configuration? Its electronic configuration is 2 6. 2 electrons in the outermost shell and 6 electrons. 2 electrons in the inner shell and 6 electrons in the outermost shell. Now these 6 electrons are valence electrons. So oxygen has 6 valence electrons. How many electrons it requires to complete its outermost shell? It requires 2 electrons to complete its outermost shell. That's why its valency is 2. Now see how the oxygen do it. This is the symbol of oxygen. These dots represent the outermost shell. These dots represent the valence electrons of the oxygen. And these dots, these electrons represent the valence electron of this oxygen. It requires 2 electrons to complete the shell. So how it will do it? It will complete its outermost shell in this manner. So if you will see the circle of oxygen, you will see that circle of oxygen contains 8 electrons. So the noble gas configuration is achieved by this oxygen. Similarly, this oxygen will also share its 2 electrons with the other oxygen atom and forms the bonding like this. Now if you will see both the circles of oxygen, if you will see this circle of oxygen contains 8 electrons, that means 8 electrons present in the oxygen atom, outermost shell is filled. Similarly for this atom, 8 electrons are present in outermost shell, that means outermost shell is filled. Now the common circle, this common part, this circle, this common part between both the atom contains the number of shared pair of electrons. Now you can see there are 4 electrons shared between both the atoms. That's why they will form 2 single bonds. I can repeat, if 2 electrons are shared between the atoms, it forms a single bond. If 4 electrons are shared between the atoms, they form 2 single bond, that is a double bond. Let's see a few more examples of covalent bonding, molecule formed by the covalent bonding. Nitrogen is another molecule which is formed by the covalent bonding. Nitrogen molecule is formed from the nitrogen atom. What is the electronic configuration? Electronic distribution. It have atomic number is 7. So its electrons are distributed like this: 2 electrons in the inner shell and 5 electrons in the outermost shell. So what are the valence electrons present in the nitrogen? The electrons are 5 valence electrons that are shown here. Now how many electrons it requires to complete its outermost shell? It requires 3 electrons to complete its outermost shell. That's why its nitrogen valency is 3. So this is the electron dot structure. This is the electron dot structure of nitrogen, in which around the symbols we have represented the valence electrons present in the nitrogen. Now see how the nitrogen molecule is formed by the sharing of the electron. This is one nitrogen atom, and these are the 5 electrons present in the outermost shell of the nitrogen. Similarly, this is another nitrogen atom. Its valence electron are 5. So these are the 5 electrons present in the outermost shell, that is the valence electron. It requires 3 more electrons. So this nitrogen atom will share 3 electrons with the other nitrogen atom to complete its outermost shell. Similarly, this nitrogen also, it have 5 electrons in the outermost shell. It will complete its octet by sharing 3 electrons from another nitrogen atom. That you can see it from here. In the circle of nitrogen, 8 electrons are present, so its outermost shell is completed. In this structure, how many electrons are shared between both the atoms? Or if you can see, in the common circle of the nitrogen, there are 6 electrons shared between the atoms. That's why 2 electrons form single bond. If 4 electrons are shared between the atoms, it forms 2 single bond, that is a double bond. Similarly, if 6 electrons are shared between the atoms, it will form a triple bond. It will form a triple bond. So covalent bonds are of 3 types: single bond when 2 electrons are shared, double bond when 4 electrons electrons are shared between the atoms, and if 6 electrons are shared between the atoms, it forms a triple bond. So as you can see from the example, let's see one more example of carbon dioxide. So this is the carbon dioxide formula. Carbon dioxide is formed from two atoms, carbon and oxygen. Carbon atomic number is 6. Its electronic configuration will be 2 and 4. That is, valence electrons are 4 and its valency is also 4. That's why it is a tetravalent. Similarly, oxygen have atomic number 8 and its electronic configuration is 2, 6. It have 6 valence electrons. Let's see the electron dot structures of both the atoms. Electron dot structures of both the atoms. If you will see the electron dot structure, you have to show the valence electron around the symbol of the atom. Carbon atom, 4 valence electron, you can show the 4 valence electron like this in the form of dots. 4 valence electron have been shown. Similarly, for oxygen, you have to show 6 valence electron around the symbol. This is the symbol of oxygen. 6 valence electron can be shown like this. So this is the electron dot structure of oxygen and carbon. Let's see how carbon dioxide is formed by the sharing of the electrons. In the carbon dioxide, there are 2 oxygen and 1 carbon atom. So it will form the structure like this. We will take carbon in between by number of atom in this complete compound. How many number of atom of carbon? Only 1 atom. That's why it is taken in between, and take the oxygen side of the carbons. Okay. Show the valence electrons properly. Carbon needs 4 electrons to complete its outermost shell. So the 4 electron present in the outermost shell is shown like this, and oxygen 6 electrons are present in the outermost shell, that can be shown like this. These are the electrons. You can represent them by using dots also and by using cross also. Similarly, for this oxygen, 6 electrons are present in the outermost shell. Now this oxygen has 6 electrons in the outermost shell. How many electrons it required to complete its octet? 2 electrons is required to complete its octet. So how it will complete its octet? All of you see, this will complete the octet or the outermost shell of this oxygen. If you will see the circle of this oxygen, it contains 8 electrons. That is, outermost shell is completed. Similarly, for this atom of oxygen, 6 electrons are present in the valence shell. In the valence electrons are 6. It requires 2 more electrons. Similarly, for this oxygen also, similar to that oxygen, 8 electrons present. Now see carbon. It have 4 valence electron. It requires 4 more valence electron to complete its shell. That we have discussed earlier. It cannot donate 4 electrons. It cannot take 4 electrons from other atoms. It can share the 4 electrons to complete its octet. So how it shares 4 electrons? 4 electrons of carbon and 2 electrons of this oxygen and 2 electrons of this oxygen are taken by the carbon as sharing of the electron. If you will see the circle of carbon, it have 8 electrons. So the octet of the carbon is completed in this manner. If you will see the shared pair of electron, now you have to see the common circle between the atoms. If you will see the common circle between the atoms, this circle have 4 electrons. 4 electron means double bond, and this common pair between both the circle, it also have 4 electrons. That means 4 electrons are shared between the atoms. It forms a double bond and it also forms a double bond. So the structure will be like this: a double bond between carbon and oxygen and a double bond between carbon and oxygen. So this is how the covalent bonding is present in the carbon. Okay, thank you.